Hello everybody. Beautiful Saturday here in Appalachia. Just spent a whole day working out in the yard, planting flowers and doing maintenance and stuff. Still got nice dirty hands. Gotta go wash up. But I also saw some headlines about another war starting a little while ago. Seems to be all the rage these days. There's about 22 or 23 wars going on in our world right now. It's kind of surreal. I'm sitting here in this beautiful, peaceful forest, listening to birds and squirrels, and part of this beautiful planet is just up in flames. Cities are up in flames. People are triggered very easily by so many things these days. We hear it called polarization. Everybody's polarized. You're either red or blue or this or that. And the World Health Organization is on a rampage to take over the world. Of course, they're just a front for those working in the shadows. But there's one thing that has never gotten any headlines over the course of the last 4.5 years. And it all started in September of 2019. And what I'm talking about is this technology called 5G. The first city to turn on 10,000 antennas, 10,000 5G antennas, was Wuhan, China. And that was September 2019. And they were closely followed by Milan, Italy. And there are people out there, you can go back and find the websites, that traced the initial enabling of these 5G antennas across the planet, followed very closely by this little thing we call the coronavirus. Now that may sound kind of crazy to people because we've been so schooled in virology, the idea that germs, viruses, bacteria, etc. cause dis-ease. There's some truth to that. Parasites, for example, if you get overwhelmed by parasites, it's happened to people. In fact, it's happened to a lot of people, which is why supposedly ivermectin works so well. But what's never in the news is the rollout of all these towers around the world. And when I went on a 10-week RV trip back in 2021 and the beginning of 2022, you could really start to see them in all the different cities as we visited 17 different states across Middle and Southern America. And I see it here where I am in Appalachia, down in the southwest corner of North Carolina. More towers going up. And I don't remember exactly when I read this very good book. It's called The Invisible Rainbow. And it basically chronicles a history of the rollout of electromagnetic technologies over the last 175 or so years, starting with the telegraph. But he actually goes farther back than that. He goes back into the history of the word influenza, coming from the Latin to be influenced by the stars, because it was a dis-ease that popped up once every 10 or 12 years, maybe with sunspot cycles, and then just magically disappeared. Just came and went. Nobody knew why, and it's documented in ancient history. I don't remember if it was ancient Egypt or Greece or what, but I have to go look it up again. But it is fascinating to read some of the things when electricity was first being harnessed it's like 1600s or so. Um, the the royals around Europe would have these little parties where everybody would stand in a circle and hold hands, and then somebody would take the positive node of a battery, and then the other person would take the negative node, and they'd send a shock wave throughout the circle of people. And every once in a while, they found somebody that did not transmit the electricity to the next person. It stopped with them. And I don't remember what he says about that, but it's quite fascinating. I have to go back and look it up. But it's an interesting read. But then he gets into the telegraph in the 1800s, radar right after World War I, and then, of course, which followed with the Spanish flu. Every one of these was followed by a pandemic. All these rollouts. So telegraph, 60 hertz electricity in the homes, and above the homes, if you look at the old pictures around like New York City, where you see all the lines above the buildings, like the brownstones and stuff. There's just this pattern that evolved with every time a new technology was rolled out, and it goes to cell phones, Wi-Fi, etc., and now 5G, and it's followed by, coincidentally, some kind of pandemic. But no one's talking about this. There is I did find a document on PubMed, which is a medical publication database, where these, I don't know if they're doctors or scientists, I'll put a link in the description here, but they were postulating the idea that this thing called coronavirus was connected to 5G. Now it's going to be very interesting to see. I'm going to publish this up on YouTube and see if they shoot me down for being so blatant about this. But I'm just theorizing, quoting this book, paraphrasing this book, The Invisible Rainbow. This guy did his research. It's very well documented. And it was followed on. There was another book I didn't read. I know it's out there on Amazon, called Radiation Nation. But the proof is out there that various forms of electromagnetic radiation can interfere, particularly with the mitochondria of our cells, and the cells of all living things, I'm sure. And that could be one aspect of why we're seeing so much chronic illness in all of its different manifestations, all of its different names. There's over 100, I think, autoimmune diseases defined. If you go to Wikipedia, there's a whole list. It's huge. But all of these chronic illnesses, and it could play a big role in this. We're inundated with electromagnetic radiation, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. I got both of them in my house, and then cell phones. You can't get away from it. And then they put smart meters on my house. The old meter was transmitting every 10 seconds back to the mothership, so they had to put a new one on that transmitted every second or so. And I looked at these guys and I said, "You really got to be kidding me." I said, "That's why I came out here, to get away from that stuff." But no, they had a big old project. It was going to take them a couple of years to replace all of them in this area. There's like 50,000 of them. But yeah, everything has to be instantaneous. So what I've done to try to harmonize, a lot of people want to try to protect or block. It takes a lot of energy to block things. It takes a lot of energy to block energy. So what I've done is I have taken steps to harmonize myself with all of the electromagnetic radiation. And the way that I'm doing this is through something called biogeometry. And one of the things that I do is I wear this medallion You'll have to go to the Biogeometry website and watch the videos and the interviews with Dr. Karim. He figured out some stuff from ancient Egypt. This is covered in Egyptian hieroglyphics on both sides. And he's figured out some things and actually had great success in, there's a town in Switzerland they rolled out 5G or some kind of electromagnetic radiation, and a lot of people were getting sick. And he came in and he set up some devices around the city and harmonized all of this electromagnetic radiation, and everybody healed. It's quite an amazing story. I highly recommend watching the video. I'll put a link to it in the bottom. There's a guy who's one of his first students is based out of not too far from here in the Asheville area. I think he's in Hendersonville. The Vesica Institute, Robert Clark or something like that. I can't remember his name, but he's on Gaia a lot. But I've thought about taking one of his classes just to learn about all this. They do these weekend classes, pretty intense stuff though, to learn how to go and harmonize energies, people's homes, buildings, even cities. It's quite fascinating, but that's what we've come to. Just one of the reasons why I would never want to get into an electric vehicle, because it's just got to be off the charts with regards to the electromagnetic radiation. So while all these things are in the news, and I call them distractions, no one's talking about this 5G stuff, just like they're not talking about it and its sister technologies. It's kind of a family of them, and they happen to revolve around, a lot of it revolves around Elon Musk, with Starlink and Neuralink, putting chips in people's brains, which then can be communicated to via Starlink, which then will be using things like the 5G spectrum. It's pretty frightening. Throw in quantum computing, and we're headed towards a real cyborg, or from the old Star Trek episodes, the Borg scenario, where we become part machine. It's the other word that's being used is transhumanism, the transhumanism agenda. It's very real, and it's not why we're here as humans. It's not why we're here. We're not here to evolve into machines. We're here to evolve back into spirit, which is where we came from. And we're just here to experience this very physical world, this very physical reality. And we need to remember that. The veil is thinning, a lot of people are waking up, but it's a real battle right now, which is why I used the name Galactic Warrior, because it is a galactic battle going on for the soul of humanity. And things that are not being talked about in the media are what's really important. The rest, what you see on the news and in the headlines, is the distraction. That's how I look at it. So I'll wrap it up here. I will put some links in below, and I hope you read the book, The Invisible Rainbow. It was a real eye-opener for me, and I've recommended it to a lot of people on social media over the last couple of years. It's really good, very well written. And with that, I will say good night. It's a beautiful Saturday night, and we're going to go relax for a while. Until the next time, aho.